Have you ever been betrayed by someone you trusted most? Imagine losing everything, your family, your home, even your own identity, because of a single lie. What if the people who were supposed to protect you were the ones who destroyed you? This is not just a nightmare. This was my reality. For most of my childhood, I believed I had a normal, loving family. My parents divorced when I was 9, but they shared custody, ensuring I still felt loved. My father was a strong and respected man, and I admired him. My mother was kind and supportive, my safe place whenever things got difficult. But then Jana came, my father's new wife. At first, she was everything he dreamed of. Charming, warm, and eager to play the role of a loving stepmother. But behind closed doors, she was something completely different. It all started small. Little comments that made me feel unwanted, subtle changes in my father's behavior that I couldn't quite understand. By the time I realized the truth, that Jana saw me as a threat, it was too late. She poisoned my father against me, distorting reality until he no longer saw me as his son, but as someone dangerous. And then, on my 21st birthday, she took the final step, a single accusation, a lie so vile it destroyed my world in an instant. My father believed her without question. I was isolated, abandoned, and left to pick up the pieces of a life I no longer recognized. 7 years later, after learning the truth, my father begged for forgiveness. But after everything I've been through, will I ever be able to forgive him? This is my story. Trust is something we often take for granted. We assume that our family, the people who raised us and protected us, will always be by our side. But what happens when that trust is shaken? What happens when the person you admire most turns their back on you? For me, that person was my father. Growing up, I never had any reason to doubt him. He was my hero, the one who taught me how to ride a bike, the one who told me bedtime stories when I was little. Even after my parents divorced in 2003 when I was 9, he never made me feel like I was anything less than his son. He shared custody with my mother, and every weekend I packed my bags and stayed with him. Then, in 2005, everything started to change. That was the year my father met Jana. I was 11 years old when he introduced her to me. She seemed nice enough, at least, at first. She had twin daughters, Emma and Emily, a few years older than me. My father was happy, and for a while I believed that meant I should be happy too. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, things began to change. Jana's attitude toward me grew colder, her smiles forced, her words sharper when my father wasn't around. I still remember the first time she told me she didn't like me. I was 12 and sitting at the breakfast table when she leaned over and whispered, "Let's pretend we get along for your dad's sake." I didn't know how to respond. I was just a kid, and this woman, who was supposed to be my family, had just told me she wanted nothing to do with me. From that moment on, my weekends at my dad's house became something I dreaded. Jana controlled everything, the conversations, the meals, the way my father saw me. She distorted the truth so subtly that even I began to doubt my own experiences. Whenever I tried to speak, my father dismissed my concerns. "She's just kidding," he'd say. "Try to get along." But it wasn't a joke. It was something darker, something calculated. Jana knew exactly how to manipulate him. And with each passing year, she drove an even greater divide between us. When I turned 16 in 2010, my father no longer saw me as a son. He saw me through Jana's eyes, a problem, a burden, someone he had to tolerate. I still wonder, when did he stop trusting me? Was it gradual, or did he decide one day that Jana's words carried more weight than mine? I never received a response. But what I know is that the father who once held my hand and told me he loved me is gone. And the man who took his place, he was a stranger. Manipulation is an invisible weapon. Unlike physical violence, it leaves no bruises or scars, just doubt, confusion, and a growing sense of helplessness. The worst part? You often don't realize this is happening until it's too late. That was exactly how Jana worked. She didn't just want me out of my father's life. She wanted to make sure I never got the chance to fight back. At first, his tactics were subtle. She would twist my words in front of my father, making me seem ungrateful or disrespectful. If I forgot to say thank you or didn't respond quickly enough, she would sigh and shake her head as if I had insulted her. "I don't know why he acts like this," she said to my father, her voice full of disappointment. "I try my best, but he just doesn't respect me." My father, who used to believe in me without question, began to hesitate. Then isolation began. Whenever I was at my father's house, Jana made me feel like a stranger. If she cooked dinner, she would serve everyone first, giving me whatever was left. If the family planned a trip, they would forget to invite me. And if I talked about it, she would twist the situation to make me seem like the problem. "Why do you always act like the victim?" she asked with a mischievous smile. "Maybe if you were nicer, people would want you around." The worst part was how she controlled my father's perception of me. She planted seeds of doubt so skillfully that over time, he saw me through her eyes. If she said I was lazy, he believed it. If she said I was disrespectful, he didn't question it. It wasn't just about turning him against me. It was about making sure he never trusted me again. When I was 18, my father no longer looked at me with love or pride. Instead, he saw me as a disappointment, a troublemaker, someone not worth defending. And Jana? She had won. At least, that's what she thought. There is a moment when pain turns into something else. When sadness turns into resilience. When betrayal fuels determination. At 21, when my father kicked me out based on Jana's lies, I had no choice but to survive. I remember standing outside my mother's house with my suitcase in my hand and my mind racing. How do you move forward when your entire foundation crumbles beneath you? How do you trust yourself when the people who raised you make you question your own worth? For months, I was lost. My father's rejection haunted me. I replayed the night of the false accusation in my head, wondering if I had said or done anything that would make it easier for him to believe her. I moved away from friends, avoided relationships, and was afraid to open up to anyone. If my own father could betray me, how could I trust anyone else? But pain, no matter how unbearable, forces growth. I had to redefine myself outside of my father's shadow. I focused on my education, immersed myself in work, and found solace in small victories. Graduating, getting my first job, regaining control over my own life. It wasn't easy. The scars from Jana's manipulation were deep, and I carried them everywhere. The turning point happened when I met Mara. Unlike Jana, she didn't manipulate me or bring me down. She listened. She saw the parts of me that I thought were broken and showed me that they weren't. Slowly, I learned to trust again, to believe that I was not defined by the betrayal of my past. Surviving isn't just about resisting, it's about reclaiming your history. And that's exactly what I did. Forgiveness is often described as the final step in healing. But what if some wounds are very deep? What if forgiving someone means betraying yourself? When my father called me after 7 years, his voice cracked with grief. He finally saw Jana for who she was. He begged for a second chance, desperate to undo the past. But some things cannot be undone. I spent years suffering in silence, questioning my worth, rebuilding the pieces of my life that he so easily discarded. Your apology didn't erase the nights I cried myself to sleep or the years I felt unwanted. It didn't change the fact that when I needed him most, he wasn't there. So I made my choice. I chose myself. I chose to let go, not for him, but for me. Trust, once broken, is almost impossible to rebuild. Some betrayals leave scars that time cannot heal, and sometimes the only way to truly move forward is to leave the past behind. What would you have done? Life has a way of teaching us who really belongs in our story. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more real-life stories that make you think. And remember, your voice matters. So let's continue this conversation in the comments.